up, guys? Welcome back to the GameSpot live stage here at E3. I'm delighted to be here with Dan Sochan from United Front Games, and we're going to have a look at Sleeping Dogs.
Yeah.
For those people, I'm sure you've asked this question 1,000 times, Sleeping Dogs used to have another name, I believe.
It did. No, actually, a misconception is that that it was always True Crime, but it wasn't. We developed it initially as a new IP.
Oh, really?
And yeah, we worked on it for several years before it was branded True Crime Hong Kong, and now obviously working with Square Enix on it, Sleeping Dogs. It's been great working with Square. It's given us the additional time we needed to really polish it, refine the combat mechanics, as well as adding in some new features like upgrade. So that as the game progresses, you get a score at the end of each mission. If you play more as a cop, more as a triad, and then you're able to then upgrade your player, gain new moves, new abilities and items, and then so your player actually advances, and it's a branching tree as well. So you and I both play the game for 10 hours. We could have two very different playing characters. So the additional times really allowed us to polish and bolster some features. Nothing was lost. All we've done is add.
And it's been in development for quite a while now. When
4.5 years.
4.5 years.
Yeah.
So for people who aren't aware of the title, what's the elevator pitch? What is Sleeping Dogs?
So Sleeping Dogs, it's an open world game set in Hong Kong where you play as Wei Shen, an undercover police officer who's been tasked with taking down the triads. And what we've done is really try to focus on the moment-to-moment gameplay, hand-to-hand martial arts combat, the driving. A lot of us worked at Black Box for years on the Need for Speed series, so we brought in that sort of experience so the driving feels great. The shooting, and then combining all those together in a sort of seamless way, so the player goes from free running in the world, into combat, into shooting, and we want them to feel like an action hero that you'd see in a martial arts film.
This game has a lot of different layers and different focuses in it. Was there ever a worry that perhaps you were spreading yourself too thin, trying to be a jack of all trades perhaps, and maybe not a master of nothing?
No, I think as much as it sounds like we were very broad, we really focused on sort of the core elements of what are you going to be doing all the time in this world? Well, you're going to be driving, you're going to be free running, shooting, or fighting. And so we really focused on that. We didn't really worry about all the sort of extraneous type things. We didn't add in thousands of radio stations or anything like that.
Okay.
We said, okay, here's the core gameplay. Let's make that great.
So there's not thousands of Cantonese radio stations?
We do have some Cantonese radio stations, but not thousands of them.
Okay, cool. The demo's just started now, so why don't you give us sort of an overview about what's going on here at the moment?
Sure. So this is about halfway through the game. It's a new mission we haven't shown before in the past called New Boss. And basically, there's Wei's talking with a couple of the other guys, his friend Jackie, and a rival gang is sort of starting to encroach on their territory. And they're at their club, which is sort of their hangout. And they're basically saying, hey, you need to give us a cut, or we're going to start causing some problems for you. And they represent a bigger, kind of tougher, a larger gang than the one that Wei's in.
So how accurate is the game to the real-world city that it's portraying?
We've gone very photorealistic in terms of the buildings. We really try to capture the essence, the culture that's Hong Kong. But we've played with the layout. We allowed the designers to kind of say, here's the routes that would make the most sense for driving or for doing free running, and then built the city around that. But a lot of the major landmarks, Victoria Peak, Central, they're all there, but the layout of the city has been sort of adjusted.
Assuming for gameplay reasons.
Yeah, we kind of wanted gameplay first.
Awesome. So is there districts in it that people would be familiar with as well? How large is it actually? I've never been to Hong Kong.
It's very large. It's definitely lots for the player to explore. Like I said, running or driving, and even using boats to explore some of the outsides of the island itself.
Awesome. So let's check out what's going on here.
So Wei basically took the ultimatum of giving them a cut by sticking a gun in the guy's face. He did not appreciate that, so he's sent a bunch of his thugs to come shoot up your bar. So as you can see, definitely influences from Hong Kong cinema, John Woo style moments of the ability to do a vault and then goes into slow-mo, so you can go and do shooting. You can chain the shooting, the slow-mo experience longer by doing headshots as well. And what we've tried to do is, it's not a game about sitting back, your hero gets shot or injured, and he sort of waits, he gets shot in the arm, I'm going to wait for it to heal.
Yeah.
As an action hero, we want the player to constantly be progressing forward. So take cover, but just briefly, then moving forward, doing slow-mo sequence. You can see him sliding along tabletops, and really taking the fight to your enemies instead of sitting back and waiting.
So you guys have been development for 4.5 years. as is always the case when a game is released, especially at the moment in the open world space, people can be quick to criticize that there are things in this game that might look like in other games, like, you know, okay, since you guys started, something like Stranglehold has come out or something like that. So how do you guys express the difference, the sort of what is the je ne sais quoi that Sleeping Dogs has that makes it unique and different to other open world games?
I think we're not trying to be a parody of a city, of a story. When we went to Hong Kong, we've met with Triad Gang members, we've met
You met with Triad Gang members?
Yes.
What was that like?
Intimidating, you know, especially hearing stories of, you know, how they've chopped a person, leave them alive as sort of an example to other people.
Wow.
So you're kind of scanning the room, you know, for cleavers, making sure that you don't offend them. We met with undercover police officers as well in Hong Kong. We tried to tell, you know, a very gritty crime drama story, and, you know, combining that with all the action elements, and, you know, working with an all-star cast of voice actors as well: Tom Wilkinson, Lucy Liu, Emma Stone, as well as Hong Kong cinema stars, you know, Edison Chen. And all this together really creates a compelling story that drives the player forward.
I saw this in London at the MCM Expo a couple of weeks ago. One of the things that stood out for me was the hand-to-hand combat. How is that used as alongside the gun combat, or is it a sort of an either-or?
We've really tried to make it feel very seamless, so that the player, you know, starts out getting in some hand-to-hand combat. Again, when you watch a lot of martial arts films, you don't see Jet Li walking with two giant rocket launchers.
No.
They often have to use their athleticism and martial arts skills, go in, disarm an enemy, take the weapon away from them, take down a few enemies, and then continue progressing forward. And so we sort of have that same approach.
Let's look at the driving here. You guys, you said some of you guys are from Black Box. So one of the major criticisms of open world games is that driving is often just used as a means to an end, like a mechanic that slows down between sort of high points. So how have you guys sort of taken what you've known from previous games and put it into this to make driving more interesting?
I guess we've approached a lot of these features as not sort of tacked on at the end, but we've had a team dedicated that worked on numerous racing titles. We've had them working on it since the very beginning, tuning the physics, the arcade aspects of it, so that it feels very arcadey, but it also feels like it has weight, it's grounded. We've gotten really positive feedback from everyone who's played the game, that they love the racing and it feels like it's a game within a game. So, and, you know, in this situation, we've got Wei actually not driving, but Jackie's driving, so he can do sort of a rail shooter driving, shooting it at all the approaching Triad bikes and cars as well.
Just to take some questions from the chat room, Phonics66 has asked, I'm wondering if there's free roam in this game. So how linear is the game? Are there side quests? Can you explore the city as much as you want?
We've got over 120 different side missions, jobs, things you can do. So there's jobs like collecting money for Loan Shark, boosting cars and returning to the shop for money. We've got dates. Dates. Meeting some of the lovely ladies of Hong Kong.
Really?
Just like the real world, impressing them first and then taking them out on a date.
Lovely men? Or is that
Wei's a handsome guy.
Is that out of character?
And then we've got you know, a lot of elements you'd expect to see in Hong Kong as well. So illegal gambling dens, street racing, karaoke, of course, as well. So all these things tied in that, and a lot of them go back into the main story as well. So you're really able to go explore the city. There's a variety of collectibles throughout the world as well. Some of these jade statues you collect, you bring them back, and the martial arts instructor thanks you by teaching you new moves. There's health shrines, so you can boost your overall health as well. So there's a lot of those different elements of the game, as well as the core story missions.
We're into a sort of a chase sequence here. Is this this is kind of showing off, I guess, the free running aspect of the game. Is this a staple of another sort of a gameplay mechanic that's in the game that pops up time to time?
Yeah, very much so. In one of the earlier missions we showed before, Night Market Chase, shows Wei chasing after someone through a crowded night market.
I saw that one, yeah.
So in this case, it's going for a rooftop chase. And yeah, we tried to make all these elements feel very seamless, that it's not this mission I am just running, this mission I am just shooting, but tying them all together, again, to have that sort of cinematic action feel.
So in terms of campaign, how long is the game, and are you guys working on any sort of multiplayer?
The core story missions, it's about an 18 to 20 hour experience, and then, like I said, over 100 pieces of secondary content. There's tons there to do for the player to learn, explore, and they can keep going back, doing these side missions, that gain them reputation, which will unlock more characters, more content, and allow them to access stores and elements they haven't in the past. So the demo ended, and at that point, I actually would have gone into a melee boss fight against Ponytail.
Got a question here. Bob the Cat Lol has asked, can you break people's kneecaps with hammers? Very specific question.
Yeah, there's a variety of different melee weapons you can use in the game: cleavers, knives, crowbars, and you can, yes, definitely, be swinging away at them. And we've got some finishing moves with those as well.
I saw in a previous demo as well the environmental kills that you guys have worked on as well. Can you talk a bit about that and the sort of variety that exists in there?
Yeah, I think it's something pretty unique to our title that we haven't seen in a lot of games before, and certainly not in the open world. So that you're able to grab an enemy and then use the environment to really turn the tides. And so you can grab a guy, throw them into a dumpster, into an open furnace, even using things sort of like rebar, an exposed piece of pipe, and pick the enemy up and impale them on it, throw them into an ice chipper. So each of them we've got a variety of them throughout the world. And
is there a bonus taken from using those, or is it just...
Yes, you get additional triad points for kind of style for using them. So it's kind of even with our combat, it has a very sandbox feel that, someone asked how many different ways is there to kill someone in the game, and hadn't been asked that before. I thought about it. There's got to be well over 100 with all the different environmental props and all the different combat moves you can do and finishing moves.
With so many different variables in this game, was there any ideas that you guys had that you had to drop at an early stage, or that you continued on and realized it didn't fit into the core gameplay?
Yeah, I think for sure. I think because we've kind of gone along, we've felt some elements maybe didn't quite work with what we were trying to do in terms of the tone and keeping things very gritty. But in general, like from the very beginning, from when we were a new IP to now, we've always kept the same vision, the same storyline, the same characters, even voice tact, and so we've really been able to sort of iterate for the last 4.5 years to come up with something that's quite polished.
It's been a long 4.5 years, but whenabouts are we likely to see Sleeping Dogs, and on what platforms?
It'll be out August 14th in North America and August 17th in Europe and PAL territories for PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and Windows PC.
Awesome. Dan, thanks very much for coming over and showing us Sleeping Dogs.
Thanks a lot.
I'm going to shoot it over to Carlos now, who apparently is once again rambling around the massive halls of E3.